Chances are, when you clicked on this video, based on the title of it, your expectation was to hear me talk to you about people and their unpopular opinions. Instead, I am going to give you an opinion that to some may be unpopular and to others is, well, extremely popular. Now, obviously I've named my video Unpopular Opinions, which you've clicked on. I mean, you're here. Unfortunately, you're not going to get what you thought you were going to get. That's okay, isn't it? Because, I mean, let's face it, we're we're not really ever wanting to hear the unpopular opinions of others. But I digress. This video is about white privilege. But of course, how dare I name my video that, lest YouTube should come in and cheese me for whatever reason it is that they want to cheese me. But what I wanted to talk about, what I really wanted to talk about, was this idea of white privilege. And the reason that I wanted to talk about that isn't because I'm some super far right person who, hates the establishment or anything like that. No, it's nothing like that at all. The reason that I wanted to talk about white privilege, and the reason that I've called this Unpopular Opinion, one, obviously I can't just name it white privilege. Two, white privilege is trending on Twitter. If you don't believe me, go have a look. It is absolutely insane. But if white privilege were real, and by this point you should be able to tell what my stance on this is, then why is it that we had 27 Democratic people who were running, 7 of which, and this is for the presidency, 27 people running for the presidency, 7 of whom were not white? I'll leave a link for this in the description. The New York Times did a pretty good job on compiling everyone that was running. There are some people here that I didn't even know were running. But if we take a look at them, the people who are running, you have Cory Booker. You could consider Tulsi Gabbard, to be non-white. I believe she is from Hawaii. You have Deval Patrick and Andrew Yang, both non-white. I think I've already said Cory Booker. Julian Castro, Kamala Harris, and one of the people that I didn't know was running at all, Wayne Massam. Now, of course you're thinking, well, anyone can run for the presidency. That's not against the law. That's not a part of this whole discussion on white supremacy or white privilege. Actually, it is, though. If, and this is an if statement, if white privilege existed, then those 7 people would not have ever made it as far as they did. Now, granted, they didn't make it very far at all. They made it to the stage, and then, of course, all of them have dropped out. And, of course, now we're looking at Joe Biden running against Donald Trump. The reason I bring this up, the reason I bring up these 7 people, is that the idea of white privilege is that the system is holding people of color down. As much as I hate that term, that is what's accepted now. You have taken the term colored people and just reworded it. Wow, great job. But I digress yet again. This is if you can't tell by now, this is a subject that is very close to home for me. The reason being, there are people in America who look white, who look very, very white, myself included. At first glance, you would look at me and think, oh, you're a white man. Listening to my voice, the first thing you would think is, oh, you're a white man. But, of course, you walk into a Hispanic community. And Hispanics, when they are met with other Hispanics, tend to speak in Spanish. That is just something that happens. Now, of course, if you are a Hispanic and you're met with a white person, odds are you're going to speak in English or if you are a first generation citizen, the English that you have. I, for me anyway, it is very often that I'm spoken to in Spanish. And of course, I have to respond with what little Spanish I have to try to get the my message across and to understand theirs. So the reason that I bring that up is that those people, these people who are, they're very light complexioned, and at first glance you assume that they are indeed white. They should not be able to be anywhere where they are in terms of political prowess or any kind of position of power because they're not white, right? That would make sense because they're encroaching upon the whiteness. We don't see that happening. We don't see people saying, I mean, of course, we saw Joe Biden saying we don't want any more N words in power. Thanks, Joe Biden, for that little clip. Joe Biden says we don't want any more of those people in power. We don't need those people running for office. That is racism. Now, that's one person being racist. Conversation I had with a buddy of mine, last year, I think. We're talking, and he says, I believe in white privilege. Okay, why do you believe in white privilege, I ask. His response to me is this, is that let's say that you and I are both applying for an apartment, and the landowner, the landlord of the apartment, would give the apartment to my buddy who is white. He would give that apartment to him because he is white, even though I am more qualified to live there. My response to this, and to this day my response is this, is that you cannot help whether or not somebody else is a racist. That's not your job to help. That's not something that you can help. If somebody else is racist, then somebody else is racist. That's not your fault. That's not something that you as a white person or you as a non-white person can fix or can help at all. That should be common sense. The next point that I bring up, these are two African American people. The first is Joseph H. Rainey. And Rainey was elected to the United States House of Representatives in 1870 under the Republican Party. He was the first African American man to be elected to the House of Representatives. If white privilege existed, how did he get there? How was he able to climb up the steps of political power to get into the House of Representatives? 1968, we see a very similar case. The first African American woman, Shirley Chisholm, is elected to the United States House of Representatives as a Democrat. If this white privilege existed, why do we have people of color in the Congress? Why do we have people like AOC, Kamala Harris, Ayanna Jefferson? I know there's one that I'm leaving out, Rashida Tlaib. I knew that I was leaving her out. But why do we have those people in Congress if white privilege is so prevalent? Wouldn't random white people instead have that? Wouldn't the people who were running instead have received that position from the government instead of from the people voting them in? That would make sense to me anyway, assuming that this white privilege existed. The next thing I bring up is the Barack Obama presidency. Barack H. Obama. And of course people are going to say, well, he was the first black president, but right after him we had Trump. Ergo, we were racist and sexist. If you remember Barack Obama, 2008, he's elected into presidency, and we go right into a recession. It was not a fun time for anyone. The housing market just nosedived. The economy nosedived. The unemployment rate skyrocketed. Granted, in 2013, a lot of that stopped, but 3 years later, where you should have a boom, the rule typically is that the greater the recession, the greater the bounce back. If we have just this horrible, horrible recession, you're going to bounce back. That's basic economics. Unfortunately, that didn't work out so well for Obama. That didn't work out so well for the American people, especially because we didn't bounce back. Of course, you're thinking, well, if if Obama was so terrible, then why did we, not vote in Hillary? Someone who has, a lot of experience in office. Why did we vote in an actor, a failed businessman? And it comes down to party. This is something that George Washington warned the people of on his deathbed. He said, if you come up with parties, if you come up with a partisan system, if you come up with this person running against this person instead of this is someone who has proved themselves in office, then your whole country is going to be screwed up. And then he dies. And of course, that's what we did. We came up with Democrat and Republican. Of course, originally you have the Whigs and I think the Tories and Whigs. But then you get into Democrats and Republican, and then there's the so-called party switch of the between the 1800s and the 1900s, when like three people switched parties, and that apparently constitutes a party switch. Bear in mind, the names stayed the same, the names of the parties stayed the same, the policies of the parties stayed the same. The party that was supporting the KKK, the Democrat Party, they still stayed there and they still supported KKK. They still opposed the reconstruction of the United States. They still supported segregation in America, whereas the Republicans didn't. And so we get into all of, that, despite the history, we get into all of that coming up into the Obama presidency. You have a Democrat who has just come out of a presidency that left the nation in a pretty sore spot. The nation was like, wow, we lost a lot. We don't want to do that again, especially not two, 3 terms in a row. Bear in mind, Obama served 2 terms. Both of them were pretty crappy. We don't want that for a third term. So what do? You don't vote for the party that just gave you 2 crappy terms. You vote for the other guys. Hence why, even though Trump did not win the popular vote, he won electoral college votes. And I could go into why we still need the electoral college, but I'll save that for another time. The last thing that I want to bring up, and I promise you this is the last thing I'm going to bring up. I know these videos have been rather long lately, is incarceration rates. Of course, people are going to say, well, you're being racist with this because you don't understand just how many people, especially the black people, are being horribly incarcerated. You don't understand. Black people are being just disproportionately incarcerated. If we take a look at the Bureau of Justice Statistics, this is from the NCVS 2018. This is Table 14. If you want to go and look that up, I will leave a link in the description. You will have to download a zip file, and you will have to go through all of the Excel documents to find this for yourself. Luckily for me and for you, I was able to find this in picture format. This is from, I want to say Forbes. I believe Forbes. Anyway, I digress. Black on white crime in 2018 was 547,948. Black on Hispanic crime was 112,365. And of course, you can read all this. The second highest is Hispanic on white. And the third is white on Hispanic, followed by black on Hispanic, followed by white on black, and then Hispanic on black. What we're not given here, of course, is black on black, white on white, or Hispanic on Hispanic. Now let's look at some other things. And these are from 2017. This is from the UCR, the Uniform Crime Report, 2017. So if we look at this is the total arrests, okay, for the race, the total arrests. White people, 5,626,140. Okay, 5 million. The second highest, being black or African American, 2 million. 221,697. So 2 million versus 5 million. If we were to round to the nearest million, you have 2 million versus 6 million. Bear in mind, 5,626. That's over 500,000, meaning you're past the halfway point. So you would round up. That's where we get these numbers from. If you can't see where we get these numbers from, they're in the table on the screen. And of course, I don't have all of the crimes listed out here. The reason for that is because, quite simply, my monitor is not tall enough. Sorry. But there's a link in the description for all of these that you can find, of course, below this video. So, this idea that black people are being incarcerated more, according to the UCR report, the UCR, the Uniform Crime Report, no. Arrests 18 and over, we see a very similar case. 2 million versus 5 million white. And then, of course, the next one isn't even in the millions, not even close to the millions. And that is the American Indian or the Alaska Native. And then, of course, those who are under 18, white people are still in the lead. So if, and I say this very sparingly, if white privilege were a thing, these white people, they would not be incarcerated at all. They would be let go. But we know that that's not the case. Because there are more white people being incarcerated than there are black people, then, why are we saying that there's such a thing as white privilege? Because if these people were really as privileged as we say that they are, they would not be incarcerated. That's basic logic. If I have privilege, if I have some kind of privilege from the government, if the government looks down on me and says, you are our chosen people, you're our little chosen child, they're going to treat me differently, and they're going to treat me differently for the better. That makes sense. That's common sense. I know that this video, like I said, I've entitled it Unpopular Opinion because I know that it is very unpopular. Let me know what you think in the comments, on Twitter, on Reddit, Minds, anywhere it is that you want to hit me up. Send me your memes. You know that I love those. Send me anything that you want me to talk about. You know that I am willing to talk about anything. In the meantime, however, be safe, treat everyone with kindness, goodbye, and good luck.